Hi, what is going on, team? I just want to jump on here to give my trade recap for today, and unfortunately, another break even. Another break even, lads. I'm not gonna lie. Um, just what to do, right? What to do. So, high time frame. I can see that we started to make some moves down. We are overextended when it comes to here and here. Equilibrium is at this fair value gap, so I would say that we're definitely overextended, and if we were to go short, today would be the day. Just because on the 5 minute we actually started to displace or make some lower moves down. As you can see, like made a high, made a low, made a high, and then we broke that structure there. So it was good to see that we were actually chasing like liquidity. Liquidity draw was spot on today. So yeah, high time frame. I mean, 4 hour, we're looking bullish just on on the 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame. But we were heading down to some of the draws, which I've marked out here, which would kind of set my bias on the day, just because price was already so close to this area that I kind of just wanted to see lower to take out all this stack liquidity, which is here. So as you can see, price just absolutely ripped through all of this and still even going lower, maybe to come and fill equilibrium, but who knows. But ideally you kind of want to stay out the markets, just because we do have 9:30 news, which is PMI. So I think what that volume was on which is, let me see, 9:15. Yeah, hit a little pushback, nice reaction, and we continue down to these lows. So the orange folder news was actually help within this trade, but again, we took the trade up here. So, and I'll kind of explain my reasoning and my thought behind that. So that's the high time frame bias set. We had our draw set. So in terms of structure rise, yeah, we were definitely bearish. As you can see, that we started to make some lower lows down here, especially breaking this low with momentum. So I'm just like, okay, cool. Like we could definitely look to see what fair value gaps get respected. And what I've realized is that, like, if price makes a fair value gap in the opposite way, like let's say if we made a move up here and we made a fair value gap and then that move up, ideally price actually likes to continue further, especially in the time frame that we're trading, especially when we have draws that have been taken out already. So that's something to note as well for next time. Yeah, in terms of the trade that we took, so we had a 5 minute fair value gap, which was here. So that was drawn, pre-market actually made this fair value gap on the way down. So I'm just like, okay, cool. Like we could either respect it or we don't respect it at all, right? And I actually took the risk and I took this trade a couple minutes just before market opening, just to see if they're like, okay, cool, we're reactive from this POI. We're likely to take out these lows, right? But with that, ideally we would want to be flush, and we want to kind of be like, we want to see that break away from this low, right? We want to see like a little break away from it, and then a retest, and then forward, right? Rather than that market open where we manipulated this low, it's hard to know whether we actually come back up to sweep these highs again, or we actually follow the trend, which is what we had here today. So I was just protecting myself in terms of market opening. So Um, I think what was perfect on this trade actually was the fact that we had that liquidity sweep into our POI, right? And we got that reaction from the zone after getting that sweep, right? We got a V-shaped recovery. That's our reaction from a high time frame POI, which in our case is a 5 minute. And we also had these two 1 minute fair value gaps, which got both disrespected, right? Yeah, we had a liquidity sweep, we had a V-shaped recovery in there. We inverse these two gaps. That would have been I actually entered somewhere down here after we got that retest back into this inverse fair value gap. And what ended up happening was that after we took these lows, because my break even was at these lows down here, because ideally we should form flush and then we should finish with displacement. As market was like kind of second guessing here about like whether we manipulated these lows to go up higher, or we actually took out this liquidity, we had that retracement, and then price followed through again. So again, I can't do much in terms of going break even, because we had that scenario of market opening displacement, right? Because ideally, like especially a couple minutes before market opening, I was just protecting myself, just in case we didn't get that flush move down to these lows. Because ideally, like once we take lows, we should displace away from them. Like as you can see here, once we took out these lows, we actually closed below, and with that we had that protection. So in terms of like I could have honestly like held out this trade and stuck to my bias a little bit more, but again, I was just kind of unsure because like we swept these lows, and ideally, like when we take out lows like this one here, we actually displace a little bit to show intent, right? So to show intent. But again, here we were kind of second guessing, like the market wasn't really sure, but market actually came up, manipulated these highs up here, and then we had that follow through. So again, we had all our like confluences and trading plan all set, right? We had that liquidity sweep, we had that V-shaped recovery and validating this whole range here. We got that retest on this candle here, and we tried to sell off. Stops were above here, and just targeting these draws, which were these 5 minute, all the stack liquidity here. So this 5 minute low and this 5 minute low. And yeah, for exact kind of entry, we did get this high. Oh no, again, we had this high get taken. We had the displacement, we had that V-shaped recovery. We get that retracement back into this, and we close here, and I press short. So I decide to sell off. So stops were above here, above this range here, and just targeting this low down here. But I would have also thought about this low down here, depending on whether we finish flush, or like we get a closure below this low or not. So yeah, I mean, that kind of wraps it up on today's trade. Yeah, unfortunate break even. I think I just have to find a system to where like I gotta trust my strategy a little bit more, but like also I'm not sure because we did have I took this trade like a couple minutes before market opened, so it was more like I felt like I did the right thing. So nothing much I can do in terms of that. Just because I told myself that, hey, like ideally we could manipulate these lows to go up even higher, or the trade ends up playing out. The trade ends up playing out, but ends up taking us out of break even in the process. Because again, this low was formed. We used it to retrace up higher, and we should get that flush or that closure below these lows. And when I'm seeing a wick like this after taking out these lows, like especially when market just opened as well, like as you can see, market actually opened on this candle where we actually took out those lows, and we got pretty much stopped out pretty quickly just because I was accounting for that market opening. And yeah, um and yeah, nothing really much to say. Yeah, that kind of wraps it up on today's trade. Today is Friday. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. Let me know like any thoughts below if you think I've done anything wrong, or like if you guys think that I'll like in terms of thinking wise and what I was happy to do, what I was happy with in terms of going break even, just because again that market opening. But yeah, again, just because we had that sweep, we had that V shape, like but again, when market opening, no one really knows, right? The market does its own thing. But yeah, just want to thank you guys so much for watching. God bless, and hope you guys have a good weekend. And I'll see you guys in the next trading video. Peace.